Today's video on how to disembark a Norwegian Cruise Line's cruise will help you make sure, or at least get close to having an almost perfect and smooth disembarkation day. If you're interested, keep watching and welcome back. This is Tierra Querida. On the last night of your cruise, you'll want to make sure that you have reviewed your bill. That's your final bill on the Norwegian app, or you can always ask for a paper copy to make sure that you don't have any overcharges or you don't have any questions. If you wait until the actual disembarkation day, I can almost guarantee you that it's going to be chaotic and stressful because there are a ton of people in line, and this happens every time, so which is why I recommend that you do this the night before, the day before, or even throughout your cruise. The second thing you'll want to make sure that you do the last night of your cruise is to pack just about everything that you have, all your gifts, your little trinkets, except the things that you're going to wear the next day, and also your toiletries. And you can keep those in a separate carry-on bag if you have that with you, because you will need to place your luggage outside your door once you have a color tag if you're doing the scheduled disembarkation day. Now, I mentioned the scheduled disembarkation time, and that is something that you can schedule by going down to guest services and or up, depending on where you're staying, and getting yourself a luggage tag. They have quite a few colors, and each color will represent a scheduled time slot for you to disembark. Or you can also disembark on your own, but you will be the very first group of people to disembark. If you do the scheduled disembarkation, you will have to put those tags that I mentioned on your luggage so that they know where to store them for you to get those the next day once you do disembark. You'll have to make sure that you are paying very close attention to the speakers the morning of disembarkation day so you don't miss your time slot. If you miss it by a few minutes, that's totally fine. Just make sure you head out so that you don't delay everybody else from getting off. I personally like to do a little bit of a later disembarkation time slot so that I can get my last breakfast there on the cruise. Now, you can have the more formal dining or breakfast that morning of, but they do close a lot earlier than the main dining room. So if you want the last nice breakfast, go ahead and get up early. And if you're fine eating at the main dining room, then of course, wake up as you please, as long as you don't miss out your disembarkation time. Like I mentioned earlier, if you do the self-disembarkation, then you will not only get off early, but you will also have to carry your own bags. So if you have heavy bags, multiple bags, that can be kind of difficult and just a little bit stressful trying to get all your stuff out by yourself. And I personally wouldn't recommend that. I would just rather get the earliest time slot and have someone help you with your bags. Another reason I wouldn't recommend this self-disembarkation is because the elevators get really jam-packed and it takes a really long time for you to get off with your, even if it's just a carry-on bag or you have multiple bags, it's very hard to get in there and have space for your bags. Those things are packed like a can of sardines, so I don't recommend that. And if you do still decide to do the self-disembarkation, just make sure you are ready to carry your bags down the stairs. That's going to be the fastest option. I will say that this Norwegian Asia cruise was a little bit chaotic in terms of finding your bag. They really didn't have the appropriate amount of staff, and it was just bags on bags on bags. So it took a while to find my bag, and even though that they were color-coded, one of my bags was way down the freaking back section, and then my partner's was on the opposite side. So they can get separated, so just make sure you're aware of that and you don't get stressed trying to only find it in one section. Try to look in the different sections that they do have. Another thing I would not recommend that you do is schedule your flight home that morning. I would try to do it, if you're gonna fly out that same day, do it the evening or late afternoon if you have a self-disembarkation or a really early disembarkation time slot, because again, you can take a little bit of time trying to find your bags, or your bag may be lost, and that will consume a lot of your time. So you want to make sure that you're not running late or you end up missing your flight. Another thing that was chaotic was the taxi portion of disembarkation, because it was not scheduled first person that pays is the first person that goes. It was more of a first come first serve. Oh, I might pick you first, or I might pick this other person first, even though say I paid first and got there first. So you have to be like ready to roll whenever they point at you to get onto the taxi. So I would also recommend that instead of waiting for a taxi, which was actually quite expensive, for you to order a Grab, and that'll be more budget friendly, and you will be able to get out of there a little bit faster. Again, this is also another reason why I don't recommend you fly out that same day. I would recommend the next day or later in the evening if there are flights around that time. If you have any tips that other traveler cruisers might find helpful for this cruise or just cruising in general, leave them in the comments. And if you found anything helpful in this cruise tip video, make sure you leave that in the comments as well, or give me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. And hopefully I see you on the next one. Bye.